They called me selfish, then smashed a champagne flute into my skull at my sister's gala for refusing to surrender my $1.20 Loft. But they never saw what I'd claim from them next. The champagne flute exploded against my temple, a crystal missile launched by my own mother's manicured hand, as the glittering San Francisco skyline blurred into a haze of pain and blood. I staggered backward, my black dress catching on the edge of a marble table, the gala's laughter and clinking glasses fading into a high-pitched ring. "You ungrateful bit," Eleanor Vaughn hissed, her diamond bracelet flashing under the chandelier's glow, her face twisted with rage I'd seen 1,000 times, but never like this. "I'm Claire Vaughn, 36, a tech startup founder who built a $10 million zero-cent cybersecurity empire from the ashes of a childhood spent under my parents' iron grip." That night, at my sister Lily's 30th birthday gala in our family's opulent Marin County mansion, I thought I was just facing another round of their toxic control. I didn't know their desperation would turn violent, or that the blood dripping down my face would lead me to a secret about their $5 million zero-cents estate, a secret that could unravel their world and threaten mine. If you're reading this from San Francisco, Seattle, or Sydney, stick with me. This is a story about surviving a family that loves you like a noose loves a neck, and I'm betting you've felt that chokehold somewhere in your life. Let me take you back to where it started. Not just that night, but the roots of it all. Because you can't understand the shattering glass without knowing the cracks that came before. I grew up in Marin County, just across the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco, in a sprawling estate that looked like it belonged on the cover of Architectural Digest. Manicured gardens, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the bay, a driveway lined with Teslas and Bentleys. It was the kind of place that screamed old money, even if my father, Richard Vaughn, had clawed his way to it through hedge funds and ruthless ambition. My mother, Eleanor, was the perfect socialite, her smile as polished as the silver she insisted on using for every dinner. From the outside, we were the American dream, wealthy, attractive, untouchable, but inside those walls I was a prisoner in a gilded cage, every step measured, every breath judged. My earliest memory is Eleanor standing over me at 5 years old, her perfume choking the air as she adjusted my pigtails with a grip that made my scalp sting. "Posture, Claire," she'd snap, shoving my shoulders back until my spine ached. "No one respects a sloucher." My father was worse in his own way, his voice a low growl that could silence a room. "Mediocrity is for losers, Claire," he'd say, tossing my report card across his mahogany desk when I brought home a B+ in third-grade math. "Bonds don't settle." By 10, I was waking up to a checklist taped to my mirror. Perfect grades, perfect hair, perfect smile. Anything less meant no TV, no friends, no dinner. I learned to hide my tears, to lock my real self away where their claws couldn't reach. My sister Lily, 3 years younger, was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. When she got a C in algebra, Richard clapped her on the back and said, "Effort's what counts, kiddo." When she spilled juice on the Persian rug, Eleanor laughed and called it adorable. Meanwhile, if I so much as left a fingerprint on a glass, I'd spend hours polishing every surface in the dining room. "Lily's sensitive," Eleanor would explain, her eyes cold when I dared question the double standard. "You're stronger, Claire. You can handle more." Stronger meant surviving their scrutiny, their rules, their theft of every shred of autonomy I tried to claim. At 14, I started coding, teaching myself Python from library books because Richard thought computers were for nerds who'd never make real money. I built websites for local businesses earning $50 0 cents here, $100 0 cents there, dreaming of a future where I could breathe free. But every dollar went straight to my parents' trust fund for my college education, locked in a bank account I'd never see. "We're teaching you responsibility," Richard would say, slipping my cash into his wallet while Eleanor nodded approvingly. "My privacy? Non-existent. Eleanor read my journals, hacked my email, screened my friends. Sarah Kim, my best friend at 15, was banned after dyeing her hair blue. "She's a bad influence," Eleanor declared, deleting Sarah's number from my phone. By high school, I'd built a fortress around my heart, sharing nothing real with anyone, knowing it would be weaponized against me. The breaking point came senior year. I'd been accepted to both Stanford, my parents' choice, and UC Berkeley, where I'd earned a partial scholarship for computer science. Berkeley was my ticket to freedom, affordable, prestigious, and far enough from Marin to start over. When I told them my decision, Richard's face turned purple. "Vaughns go to Stanford," he roared, slamming his fist on the dining table, making the crystal glasses tremble. Eleanor's voice was quieter but sharper, like a blade. "You're throwing away everything we've built for you." When I stood my ground, they dropped the bomb. Choose Stanford or get nothing. No money, no support, no home. That night I overheard them in their study, Richard laughing bitterly. Her trust fund gone, new pool and a trip to Tuscany don't pay for themselves. They'd spent every cent I'd earned, every penny they'd promised to save. At 18, I moved into a Berkeley dorm with $500, 0 cents, a duffel bag, and a laptop. I worked 3 jobs: barista at a campus cafe, freelance coder, and teaching assistant, sleeping 3 hours a night, living on instant noodles and adrenaline. My first semester, I nearly collapsed from exhaustion, but I kept going, fueled by the fire of proving them wrong. Sophomore year, I met Vanessa Reed, a tech founder who spoke at a hackathon I'd entered on a whim. My team's encryption prototype won 2nd place, and Vanessa pulled me aside afterward, her eyes sharp but kind. "You've got fire, Claire," she said. "That's rarer than talent. Call me when you're ready to build something real." Her card became my lifeline, a promise of a future I could shape. I graduated top of my class, launching my cybersecurity startup, VaultCore, with a $2 million, 0 cents seed round I secured through sheer grit. My parents didn't show up to my graduation, sending a $50, 0 cents Venmo with a note, "Hope you're satisfied." I was. My first office was a cramped loft in San Francisco's Mission District with flickering lights and a leaky roof. But it was mine, paid for with my own blood and sweat. I coded through nights, pitched to investors who smirked at a 24-year-old woman in tech, and landed a breakthrough contract with a Fortune 500 company. That deal earned my first $1 million, which I funneled back into VaultCore, saving every spare cent for a $1,200,000, 0 cents loft in Soma, a sleek sanctuary with views of the city skyline. It was my trophy, proof I'd escaped their cage. Contact with my parents was minimal. Holiday texts, the occasional stiff phone call. Lily, now a lawyer, stayed closer to them, following their script by attending law school, but she and I kept our bond tight. She'd call late at night, venting about their pressure, and I'd listen, knowing she was trapped in a different way. I'd been dating Ryan Patel, a venture capitalist with a warm smile and steadier hands, for 3 years. He saw through my walls, never pushing, but always there, like an anchor in a storm I hadn't realized I was weathering. Then came the invitation, gold embossed and heavy, for Lily's 30th birthday gala at the Marin Mansion. It arrived on a rainy Tuesday, the cream cardstock catching the light on my kitchen counter. I traced the raised lettering, my stomach twisting. Lily texted before I could decide. "Please come, Claire. It's my big day and I need you there." I sighed, typing back, "Last time was a disaster." Thanksgiving 2 years ago had ended with Eleanor dissecting my unstable career over turkey and Richard lecturing me on wasted potential over pecan pie. I'd left with a migraine and a vow to keep my distance. "I know," Lily replied, "but it's my 30th, once in a lifetime, please." I couldn't say no to her. She'd been my ally growing up, sneaking me snacks when I was sent to bed hungry, texting me through college when our parents froze me out. Over dinner at Ryan's loft, I weighed the decision, pushing quinoa around my plate. "Should I go?" I asked, meeting his steady gaze. "Family's complicated," he said, squeezing my hand. "But Lily's your rock. You might regret missing it." "I'll come with you. Moral support." His offer eased the knot in my chest. "My knight in shining armor," I teased, grateful for his calm. We spent the next day shopping for Lily's gift, settling on a $2,000 0-cent smartwatch she'd eyed at a tech expo, a nod to her secret love for gadgets. Choosing my outfit was harder. I wanted to look powerful but not provocative, successful but not screaming for their approval. I picked a tailored black dress with a subtle gold necklace, understated but sharp. The night before the gala, Ryan called, his voice ragged. "I'm so sorry, Claire. Food poisoning. No way I can make it tomorrow." My heart sank. "Focus on getting better," I said, hiding my panic. "You sure you'll be okay alone?" he asked, coughing. "I'll manage," I lied, staring at my reflection in the mirror, wondering if I could face their venom without backup. Saturday dawned with crisp spring air, the Golden Gate Bridge gleaming as I drove the 30 minutes to Marin. Anxiety coiled tighter with every mile. The mansion loomed larger than I remembered, its stone facade glowing under new landscaping, a fleet of luxury cars, Porsches, Maseratis, lining the circular drive. I parked on the street, gripping the steering wheel, repeating my therapist's mantra. I am enough. I control my response. I can leave any time. With Lily's gift tucked under my arm, I approached the front door, heels clicking on the cobblestone path. Before I could knock, Lily flung the door open, her face lighting up. "Claire!" she squealed, pulling me into a hug, her floral perfume grounding me. "Happy birthday, Lil," I said, squeezing back, using her childhood nickname. Inside, the mansion buzzed with guests, tech moguls, lawyers, socialites, sipping champagne under vaulted ceilings. Richard and Eleanor stood by the fireplace, flutes in hand, schmoozing with a power couple I vaguely recognized from Forbes. Eleanor's navy gown shimmered with sequins, a new pearl choker at her throat. Richard's bespoke suit screamed recent splurge. Their eyes flicked to me, their smiles tight. "Claire," Eleanor said, air-kissing my cheek, her breath sharp with gin. "That dress is bold." "Hello, Mother, Father," I replied, nodding. "The house looks different. New art?" "Just a few upgrades," Richard dismissed, waving a hand. "Lily, show your sister around." Lily guided me through the crowd, introducing me to her colleagues and friends. I met her fiancé, Dr. Nathan Cole, a neurosurgeon with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "Lily talks about you nonstop," he said, his smile genuine. "I feel like we're already family." We clicked instantly, swapping stories about Lily's quirks. Across the room, I spotted Aunt Margaret, my mother's sister, by the caviar station. Unlike my parents, Margaret had always been my safe harbor, sending care packages during college, calling to check in. "Claire!" she exclaimed, hugging me tightly, her lavender scarf soft against my cheek. "You're killing it out there. I read about VaultCore in TechCrunch." We caught up, but her eyes held a shadow of worry. When Lily and Nathan drifted off, Margaret leaned in. "Your parents are acting strange," she whispered. "Richard's been muttering about bad investments, and Eleanor's more unhinged than usual." Before I could press her, Eleanor appeared, her smile brittle. "Margaret, I need you in the kitchen." As the gala unfolded, I noticed more signs of their excess. Catering from Michelin-starred restaurants, a string quartet, rare whiskeys flowing freely. I overheard Richard boasting to his golf buddies about Lily's new role at a top law firm, carrying the Vaughn legacy, pointedly ignoring me nearby. The first jab came when I paused by the mantel, studying family photos. Lily's law school graduation, Richard's yacht. None of me. Eleanor materialized, martini in hand. "You've put on weight." she observed, her tone clinical. Tech must keep you sedentary. I swallowed my retort. Actually, I'm training for a triathlon. She smirked, switching gears. Is that boyfriend still around? Ron? Ryan, I corrected. 3 years now. He's sick today. Convenient, she muttered, drifting off. Richard cornered me later by the bar, his scotch glass sweating. So, this startup thing's still working out. Not too late for a real career, you know. I smiled tightly. Vaultcore just closed a $10 million 0 cents deal. I'm good. His jaw twitched, but a tech CEO nearby overheard, pulling me into a discussion about AI security trends. I held court, feeling my parents' glares from across the room. Lily flitted between groups, her smile strained, checking that I stayed clear of Richard and Eleanor. At one point, she pulled me aside. Thanks for coming, she said, her voice tight. It means everything. Wouldn't miss it, I assured her, noting her nervous glance toward our parents. Big crowd, huh? She laughed shakily. Mom and Dad wanted a spectacle. You know how they are. As the afternoon wore on, I almost relaxed, chatting with Nathan and sipping sparkling water. Then Margaret caught my arm near the powder room. Be careful, she murmured. Your parents were grilling me about your finances. Weird questions. Her warning sent a chill through me, but before I could ask more, a guest called her away. I refilled my glass, unease creeping in, when Eleanor appeared, her grip on my elbow like a vice. Claire dear, your father and I need a word. Join us in the wine cellar. Her tone was honeyed, but her nails dug into my skin. I followed, my pulse quickening, down a spiral staircase to the cool, dimly lit cellar, oak barrels lining the walls. Richard leaned against a rack of Bordeaux, swirling amber liquid in a tumbler, his eyes glinting. There's our girl, he said, his warmth unnervingly false. Quite a night for Lily, huh? I nodded, wary. She deserves it. Law school wasn't easy. We're proud, Eleanor agreed, refilling her martini from a decanter. Speaking of careers, how's that little startup of yours? Thriving, I said cautiously. Cybersecurity's booming in San Francisco. Richard's smile didn't reach his eyes. Fascinating. Tech's a gamble, but real estate. Now that's solid. What's hot in the city? Soma, Mission Bay, I answered, sensing a trap. Prices are sky high. Their demeanor shifted, Eleanor's glass clinking against the stone counter. You must see some stunning properties, she said, her voice too casual. Actually, I own a loft in Soma, $1,200,000, 0 cents, bought last year. Richard straightened, his tumbler freezing mid-swirl. You bought a loft? Eleanor's eyebrows shot up, her martini sloshing. When? 6 months ago, I said, bracing myself. It's a 2-bedroom, bay views. Must have cost a fortune, Richard probed, his tone sharp. $1,200,000, 0 cents. I confirmed, no point in hiding it. They exchanged a look, heavy with intent. Impressive, Eleanor said, her voice laced with something darker. You've done well for yourself. Richard cleared his throat, stepping closer. We deserve some credit for that, don't you? We gave you the foundation. Private schools, connections, discipline. I nearly laughed. What foundation? I put myself through Berkeley. You cut me off when I didn't choose Stanford. Eleanor waved a hand, her rings flashing. Details, Claire. Family's what matters now. Richard's eyes narrowed. Speaking of family, we've hit a rough patch with some investments. Nothing we can't handle, but we're exploring options. My stomach twisted. That's tough, I said neutrally. Have you talked to a financial advisor? Eleanor stepped in, her perfume overwhelming. We prefer to keep solutions in the family. We're thinking about your loft. And your startup. My blood ran cold. What about them? Richard's voice hardened. We need you to transfer your Vault-Core equity and the Loft's deed to us. It's an investment for the family to stabilize our portfolio. The cellar seemed to shrink, the air thick. You want my company and my home? I asked, incredulous. It's not unreasonable, Eleanor said, as if discussing a grocery list. We raised you, sacrificed everything. You live here until you rebuild. Rebuild? I echoed, my voice rising. I worked a decade for those. You spent my trust fund on a yacht? Richard's face darkened. Don't rewrite history, Claire. We supported you. You stole from me, I shot back. I paid for Berkeley with loans and 3 jobs. Eleanor's eyes flashed. Ungrateful as always. We gave you a privileged life. Privileged? I snapped. You controlled every breath I took. The argument escalated, our voices bouncing off the stone walls. Richard slammed his tumbler down, liquid splashing. You owe us respect. Respect? I countered. You're demanding I give up everything I built. Eleanor's hand trembled, her martini glass empty. She grabbed a champagne flute from a nearby crate, her movements erratic. You've always been selfish, she slurred, stepping closer. I'm not selfish, I said, holding my ground. I'm done being your puppet. Her face contorted, and before I could react, she swung the flute with terrifying force. The crystal shattered against my temple, pain exploding like a grenade. Blood poured down my face, warm and sticky, soaking my dress. I stumbled, grabbing a barrel for support, the room spinning. Look what you made me do, Eleanor shrieked, no remorse in her voice. Richard stepped forward, unfazed. She's fine. Just a scratch. Lily's voice cut through the haze, frantic. Claire? She and Nathan burst into the cellar, her eyes widening at the blood. Oh my God, what happened? Nathan, in doctor mode, knelt beside me, pressing a napkin to my wound. She needs a hospital, he said, his voice steady but urgent. Eleanor scoffed, grabbing another flute. She's being dramatic, as usual. Lily glared at her. Mom, you hit her. Margaret appeared at the stairs, her face pale. I'm calling 911, she said, pulling out her phone. Richard barked. No ambulances. This is family business. Nathan ignored him, helping me stand. She's got a deep laceration and possible concussion. We're going now. They guided me upstairs, guests staring as blood dripped onto the hardwood. Whispers followed us, shock, curiosity, judgment. Outside, the cool night air hit my face, sharpening the pain. Nathan and Lily got me into Nathan's car, sirens already wailing in the distance. Someone cold anyway, Lily said, her voice shaking. Good, Nathan replied, peeling out of the drive. As we sped toward the hospital, I glanced back, seeing Eleanor pouring another drink through the mansion's windows, Richard dismissing guests with a wave. The red and blue lights of an approaching ambulance flashed in the rear view, and I knew, even through the pain, that something had broken tonight, a fracture that would expose truths I wasn't ready for. The ER was a blur of antiseptic and fluorescent lights. A young doctor stitched my temple. 15 sutures, each tug a reminder of Eleanor's rage. A CT scan confirmed a mild concussion, no fracture. You're lucky, the doctor said. Head injuries like this can be worse. Lucky's not the word, I muttered, wincing as she bandaged me. Nathan and Lily stayed close, Lily's eyes red from crying. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I didn't know she'd do this. Neither did I admitted, the metallic taste of blood lingering. She's always been cruel, but never violent. We drove to Lily's apartment in the city, Nathan insisting I shouldn't be alone. Lily made tea, her hands shaking, while Nathan checked my pupils again. I'm fine, I said, more to convince myself. "You're not," Lily replied, setting a mug in front of me. "They asked me to talk to you about your loft before the gala, said it was for family security. I refused, but I didn't think—" She trailed off, horrified. "They're in trouble," I said, piecing it together. "Financial trouble. Did you know?" Nathan nodded slowly. "Richard mentioned some bad hedge fund bets, but I thought it was just talk." Exhaustion hit me like a wave, the pain meds dulling the edge but not the shock. I slept fitfully in Lily's guest room, waking to a phone buzzing with notifications. 7 missed calls from Eleanor, 3 from Richard, texts dripping with venom. Eleanor's voicemail was a knife. "Claire, your tantrum ruined Lily's night. Apologize and call me now." Richard's text was colder. "We'll discuss your assets tomorrow. Stop this nonsense." I've blocked their numbers, my hands trembling, unable to process their delusion. Ryan called at dawn, his voice tight with fury. "I'm coming over," he said after I recounted the night. "I'm okay," I lied, knowing he'd see through it. By noon, I was back in my loft, Ryan hovering, ice pack in hand. The bruising around my eye had bloomed purple, a grotesque mask. "I should have been there," he said, guilt etched on his face. "Then we'd both be concussed," I joked weakly, leaning into him. The next day, sorting through mail Lily had grabbed from the mansion, I found an envelope from Pacific Trust Bank, addressed to Trustee, Vaughn Family Trust. My name was listed. Frowning, I tore it open, scanning a notice about delinquent mortgage payments on the Marin mansion. "This can't be right," I murmured, my concussion fog clearing with a jolt. Why was I the trustee? What trust? The letter hinted at a truth my parents had buried, a secret tied to the house they'd flaunted as their own, a secret that could shift the power in ways they'd never anticipated. As I stared at the letter, my phone lit up with an email from my lead investor, Marcus Tate. "Claire, rumors of a family assault are circulating. Resolve this quietly, or we're pulling our $15 million zero. Vaultcorp can't afford a PR disaster." My heart raced, the stakes skyrocketing. My parents' violence had cracked open more than my skull. It threatened my company, my future, and maybe my life. What had they hidden about the trust? Who else knew? And why did I feel like the real danger was just beginning? The Pacific Trust Bank letter trembled in my hand, its crisp edges cutting into my palm as I stared at the words Trustee, Vaughn Family Trust, Claire Vaughn. My San Francisco loft, usually a haven of glass and steel, felt like a cage closing in, the bay's glittering lights mocking my concussion-fogged brain. Blood still crusted the bandage on my temple, a brutal reminder of my mother Eleanor's champagne flute shattering against my skull at Lily's gala. I'm Claire Vaughn, 36, a tech startup founder who built Vaultcorp, a $10 million zero-cent cybersecurity empire, from the wreckage of a childhood under my parents' suffocating control. That night, in their $5 million zero-cents Marin County mansion, I thought their demand for my loft and company equity was the worst they could do. I was wrong. The letter hinted at a secret they'd buried, a trust that named me steward of their precious estate, a truth that sparked a chain of dangers threatening to burn my world down. If you're reading from Austin, Melbourne, or New York, buckle up. This is about surviving a family that'd rather see you broken than free, and the fight to claim a truth that could save or destroy you. The ER discharge papers lay scattered on my coffee table, next to Marcus Tate's email demanding I silence the Gala scandal or lose Vaultcorp's $15 million zero-cents funding. My head throbbed, each pulse a hammer against the 15 stitches holding my temple together. Ryan Patel, my boyfriend of 3 years, hovered nearby, his venture capitalist calm fraying as he read the bank letter over my shoulder. "Trustee?" he murmured, his dark eyes narrowing. "Why would you be trustee of their house?" I shook my head, wincing. I don't know. They never mentioned a trust. But this letter says the mansion's in one and I'm in charge. Ryan's jaw tightened. They demanded your assets last night. Now this? They're hiding something big. I opened my laptop, ignoring the dizziness, and searched Marin County property records. The results hit like a second blow. The mansion, valued at $5 million, 0 cents, wasn't owned by Richard and Eleanor Vaughn, but by the Vaughn Family Trust, established 25 years ago by my grandparents, an amendment dated 4 years back when I turned 32. This can't be right, I whispered, my voice cracking. I've been trustee for years and didn't know? Ryan leaned closer, scanning the screen. Your parents lived there, took out loans against it, and never told you? That's not just shady, it's illegal if you're the trustee. The loans were the gut punch. Public records showed $2 million, 0 cents in equity lines of credit, payments delinquent for 6 months. My parents, who'd flaunted their hedge fund wealth at the Gala with new chandeliers and rare whiskeys, were drowning in debt they'd racked up behind my back. I flashed to Eleanor's slurred rage, Richard's desperate demand for my company shares. They weren't just controlling, they were cornered, and I was their escape plan. But why hide the trust? What else were they concealing? Before I could think, my phone buzzed with a blocked number. I hesitated, then answered, expecting a hospital follow-up. Instead, a distorted voice rasped, "Drop the trust, Claire, or you won't make it to your next board meeting." The line went dead, my blood turning to ice. Ryan grabbed my hand. Who was that? I don't know, I stammered, my concussion making the room tilt. They mentioned the trust. His face hardened. We're calling the police. Now. The cops arrived an hour later, 2 officers in crisp SFPD uniforms taking my statement in my loft's sterile light. Officer Delgado, a woman with sharp eyes, jotted notes as I recounted the Gala assault, the letter, the call. Your parents have a motive, she said bluntly. They're losing their house unless you bail them out. But this call could be them, or someone else tied to the loans. Her partner, Officer Chen, frowned. Any enemies in tech? Your company's high profile. I swallowed, thinking of VaultCore's competitors, investors I'd turned down. Plenty, I admitted, but this feels personal. Delgado handed me her card. Get a security system upgrade. We'll trace the call, but don't expect much from a burner. Stay vigilant. Sleep was impossible that night, my mind racing between the trust and the threat. At 3 a.m., my loft's smart security system blared, red lights flashing. I bolted upright, heart pounding, as Ryan grabbed his phone to check the cameras. Someone's at the door, he whispered, showing me a grainy feed of a hooded figure tampering with the lock. My concussion dulled my reflexes, but I stumbled to the closet, pulling out a baseball bat I kept for emergency. The lock clicked, the door creaking open, and I froze as footsteps echoed in the foyer. Ryan dialed 911, his voice low, but the intruder must have heard because they bolted, leaving a USB drive on the floor. When the police swept the loft, they found no fingerprints, but the drive held a single file, a grainy video of me at the Gala, blood streaming, with text overlay, "Give up the trust, or this goes." The next morning, I met Lily at a Mission District cafe, needing her perspective. Her face paled as I showed her the bank letter, her lawyer's mind kicking in. "Grandma set this up," she said, her voice soft. "She never trusted Dad's money moves. But why not tell you?" I sipped my coffee, wincing at the bitter taste, then froze. It wasn't just coffee. My vision blurred, my throat tightening. "Lily," I gasped, spitting it out, my hands shaking. She grabbed my arm, yelling for the barista, who swore the cup was clean. Paramedics arrived, confirming a sedative in the coffee, likely slipped when I'd stepped away. "Someone's targeting you," Lily said, her eyes wide. "This isn't just Mom and Dad." Back at my loft, recovering with Ryan's arm around me, I dug deeper. A call to Pacific Trust Bank connected me to Margaret Fisher, the attorney who'd handled my grandparents' estate. Her voice was warm but cautious over the phone. "Ms. Vaughn, I've been expecting you," she said. "Your grandmother amended the trust in 2021, naming you trustee at 32. She insisted we wait for you to contact us." I gripped the phone, my stitches throbbing. "Why didn't my parents tell me?" Fisher paused. "Your grandmother suspected your father's financial recklessness. The trust holds the mansion and $3 million, 0 cents in assets, meant to preserve the family legacy. As trustee, you control it all." She emailed me the trust documents, including a letter from my grandmother, her elegant script a lifeline across years. "My dear Claire," it began, "I've watched your father risk everything on foolish bets. The mansion is our family's heart. Protect it. I chose you for your integrity, your strength. Trust yourself." Tears stung my eyes, her faith clashing with the weight of responsibility. Fisher added a bombshell. My parents had forged documents to take out the $2 million 0 cents loans, misrepresenting themselves as trustees. "As trustee," she said, "you're not liable for their fraud, but the bank wants payment, or they'll foreclose." The stakes skyrocketed that afternoon when my phone pinged with a news alert. Tech star Claire Vaughn in violent family feud at Marin Gala. A grainy photo of me, bloodied, was plastered online, leaked by an anonymous source. My inbox flooded with investor emails. "Marcus Tate's the most brutal. This is a PR nightmare. Fix it by tomorrow or we're out." Vault Core's stock plummeted 20% in pre-market trading. My life's work teetering. I called my PR team, scrambling to draft a statement, but the leak felt orchestrated, a knife aimed at my company's heart. That night, needing air, I drove to Ocean Beach, the Pacific's roar drowning my thoughts. As I walked the cliff path, 2 masked figures emerged from the fog, one brandishing a knife. "Drop the trust," the taller one growled, lunging. Instinct kicked in. I sprayed pepper spray from my keychain, hitting his eyes. The other grabbed my arm, but I twisted free, sliding down a rocky embankment, my knees scraping raw. I ran to my car, heart hammering, their shouts fading behind me. At home, Ryan patched my cuts, his face grim. "This is escalating," he said. "We need private security." The next day, my lead engineer, Priya, called in a panic. "Someone uploaded malware to our investor pitch deck," she said. "It's set to display fake financials at tomorrow's $10 million 0 cents funding round." I raced to Vaultcore's mission office, my concussions screaming, and worked with Priya to isolate the code. We found a back door linked to a competitor I'd outbid last year, but the timing reeked of my parents' desperation. I pulled the presentation onto a clean tablet, saving the deal by minutes, but the sabotage shook me. Someone wanted Vaultcore to fail, and the trust was the key. Lily came over that evening, her face drawn. "Mom and Dad called," she said, twisting her engagement ring. "They want me to convince you to drop the trust. Said it's my duty as a Vaughn." I sighed, seeing the pressure cracking her. "What did you say?" "I told them no," she said, her voice breaking. "But they're threatening to cut me off, disinvite me from their will. Nathan's worried it'll ruin our wedding plan." I hugged her, guilt gnawing at me. "You don't have to choose sides, Lil." "I already have," she whispered. "You're my sister." The trust's legal tangle consumed me. I met Fisher in her downtown office, her silver hair catching the light as she spread documents across a mahogany desk. "Your parents' loans are fraudulent," she said. "You can sell the mansion to clear the debt, or negotiate with the bank. As trustee, it's your call." Selling meant evicting my parents, a nuclear option after their assault, but letting them stay risked foreclosure, dragging the trust, and me down with them. "What if they fight it?" I asked, my stitches itching. Fisher's eyes were steel. They can sue, but the trust is ironclad. Your grandmother's intent was clear. You, not them. I left with a folder of documents and a decision looming. That night, driving home on Highway 101, headlights blinded me in the rearview. A black SUV swerved close, its bumper kissing mine, pushing me toward the guardrail. My heart raced, the Gala's blood flashing in my mind. I floored the accelerator, weaving through traffic, my Tesla's tires screeching. As I took an exit ramp at 70 mph, the SUV followed, but I lost it in a construction zone, my hands shaking on the wheel. At home, I collapsed against Ryan, sobbing. "They won't stop," I said. "Someone wants me dead." The next morning, my parents' lawyer filed a lawsuit, claiming I'd fabricated the Gala assault to seize the trust. The filing hit the press, headlines screaming, tech CEO accused of family betrayal. Vault Corps' board called an emergency meeting, questioning my leadership. Marcus Tate's ultimatum was final. Settle this by week's end, or we're pulling all funds. My reputation, my company, my safety, everything was unraveling. I hired Sarah Rodriguez, a real estate attorney Fisher recommended, to navigate the trust. In her sleek Embarcadero office, she reviewed the documents, her pen tapping. "You can sell the mansion," she said. "The trust gives you full authority. The loans, the delinquency, it's a strong case for liquidation." I nodded, my throat tight. "What about my parents?" "Evict them post-sale," she said. 30 days notice, standard procedure. They can contest, but they'll lose. The idea of selling their home, their symbol of superiority, felt like wielding a sword. But after the flute, the threats, the SUV, it also felt like justice. I listed the mansion with Patricia Chen, a top realtor from a rival firm, pricing it at $5 million 0 cents for a quick sale. We staged it discreetly while my parents were at a Napa retreat, photographers capturing its marble floors and bay views. The listing went live Thursday, no warning to Richard or Eleanor. By Friday, we had 7 offers, the highest a $5 million 0 cents cash deal from a tech developer, no contingencies, 30-day close. "It's a slam dunk," Patricia said. I signed the contract, my hand steady, then instructed her to notify my parents as occupants. Their reaction was a volcano. My phone exploded with voicemails from unknown numbers, Eleanor's voice slurring. "You're a monster, Claire." "Our home." Richard's was colder. "This isn't over. You'll pay." They showed up at Vault Corps' office Monday, barging past security. Eleanor's mascara streaked, Richard's suit rumpled. "You're stealing our legacy," Eleanor shrieked, drawing stares from my team. I stayed calm, signaling security. "This is a place of business," I said. "Leave, or I'll press charges." Richard lunged, but guards escorted them out, his shouts echoing, "We'll sue you into the ground." Filed for a restraining order that afternoon, presenting the Gala's police report, my medical records, and their office disruption. The judge granted it, citing clear and present danger. But the threats didn't stop. Tuesday, my car's brakes felt spongy and a mechanic confirmed tampering. Someone had cut the lines. Wednesday, a package arrived at my loft, no return address, containing a photo of me sleeping taken through my window. I hired a private security firm, my savings draining, but sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. Desperate for closure, I agreed to meet my parents at a neutral coffee shop, Lily and Nathan present. Richard and Eleanor arrived disheveled, their wealth's sheen gone. "You had no right," Richard growled, slamming the trust documents I'd brought. I stayed calm. "I'm trustee. Grandma named me to protect the mansion from your recklessness." Eleanor clutched my grandmother's letter, her hands shaking. "This is a lie," Lily spoke up, her voice firm. "I called Grandma's friend Judith. She witnessed the amendment. It's real." Richard's face reddened. "We'll fight this in court." Sarah's advice echoed in my mind. "You'll lose," I said. "The trust is clear, and your loans are fraught. I offered a deal, 30% of the sale proceeds, $1,500,000, 0 cents, on 2 conditions: a public apology for the assault and no claim to my assets. Eleanor scoffed. Apologize for disciplining you? You provoked me. Richard nodded. She needed stitches, Mom. That's not discipline. I stood, gathering the documents. The sale closes in 30 days. Vacate the mansion or you're evicted. Your choice. Richard's parting shot cut deep. No one will love a traitor, Claire. The sale closed on schedule, the developer wiring $5 million, 0 cents. I paid off the $2 million, 0 cents loans, donated $500,000, 0 cents to a women's shelter, and placed the rest in the trust. My parents moved to a cramped Oakland apartment, their empire reduced to rubble. They cut contact, though they leaned on Lily, guilting her for my betrayal. Baltcore survived. My PR team spinning the scandal as a personal triumph over abuse. Marcus reinstated funding, impressed by my resilience. Therapy became my anchor, Dr. Ellis helping me unravel decades of trauma. You're grieving the family you deserved, she said, her words unlocking tears I'd buried. I saw patterns, people-pleasing, fear of conflict, rooted in my childhood's eggshells. Breaking them felt like sacred work, a promise to myself and future generations. Lily and I rebuilt our bond, her engagement to Nathan a bright spot. No parents at the wedding, she declared, her therapy mirroring mine. Ryan proposed one evening by the bay, his ring simple but sure. You're my home, he said, and I said yes, my heart full. The mansion's sale left a bittersweet scar. Was it revenge? Partly. Was it right? Absolutely. I'd given my parents chances to atone, but their entitlement chose their path. I learned family isn't blood, it's the people who lift you up, like Ryan, Lily, Margaret, my team. On the sale's anniversary, I hiked Mount Tamalpais, the Marin Hills stretching below. The wind carried my past away, leaving peace I'd fought for. If you're battling toxic ties, know this: you deserve love that doesn't hurt. Build your family, choose your path, and never let anyone dim your light. The trust broke my chains, and I'm free.